I have like a super exciting interview today. So one of our scale clients that wow, see what I mean? I like always screw up the introduction. But anyway, we'll just get our team to splice this together. But I'm actually pumped about this one because for the first time I'm interviewing a creator that I didn't have anything to do with the campaign where Lord of the Chords raised over $200,000, but we're actually working together to transition them into a full e-commerce storefront and actually build it into a brand, which is I find an uphill battle with a lot of creators because you went through the easy part, they say, of selling the product, and now you have to go through fulfillment, but how do you actually like build on top of that? And in my time working with Jonathan, like I'll get him to introduce the brand and stuff in a second, but I realized a few things that they did in their pre-launch that were out of this world. And after John kind of passed me a blog that he wrote about how he was able to get his product in 13 celebrity endorsements before they had even launched, and how he used that social proof to really have his campaign go viral, I had to bring him into have a conversation with him that was obviously recorded, because I think that there's a lot of gold of what these guys are doing behind the scenes that I wanted to share with the world. And I think John agrees as well because he's here. So super pumped to have you. I guess, why don't we start with, can you just introduce yourself and go over what Lord of the Chords is and just go from there?
Hi, I'm John, or you can call me Jon of the Chords. And with my two co-founders, Junyu and Keith, we made Lord of the Chords, which is a music theory card game. And the reason we made this game is because when I was a teen, I had to learn music theory and I hated it so much. I was so bored. But then I just got through the exams, and I remember I started to dislike my mom and my teacher a little bit. And I loved them so much, so it was very confusing for me. And then fast forward a few years later, we made this game to make it more fun for people. And it touches our hearts to know that all around the world, thousands of teachers are having fun with music theory. So that's the story of the game.
Yeah. So the demographics buying the game, I know definitely teachers are buying this to help make music theory studying more fun. But do you find a lot of students are actually buying this as well? Or is it mostly like parents that just want to help their kids? Like, who's buying this?
It's a lot of, it's basically the golden intersection of people who love board games and people who love music. Those are the biggest chunk. And then there's parents and friends of people who know music lovers and teachers.
Yeah. And now, when you went to develop this game, anyone that goes to your Kickstarter Indiegogo page, you have a lot of video and testimonials from people that have actually play tested this. Can you walk me through like how you developed a board game, well, I guess more of a card game that people really love playing, and how you tested that outside of your like classroom between the three of you guys when you were designing it?
All right. We designed it in a month before we went to the army. In Singapore, we have to serve the army conscription.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it was after the army, before university, after army. So it was like free time. And I remember I taught him jazz over the summer, and he was like, oh, music theory is fun. So that's when he had the idea to make the game. So we just took like empty white plain name cards, and we wrote ideas for the cards on them. And we based the base rules off of other set collection games like Mahjong, which is a traditional Chinese game, and Monopoly Deal, which is a card game version of Monopoly. Yep. And then from there, we just sort of messed around playing the game with each other and like maybe 4 more friends. That's all. And in a month, we had the game. But so we had the game in our own hands, like officially, real cards. And we were like, oh, this is amazing. And then we killed the idea because we thought no one would play a music theory card game. But I brought the cards with me for 3 years everywhere I went. And I would play it with any musical friend I knew, which was not that many because the game is kind of hard. But still, because it was over 3 years and I played lots of friends are gamers. So they would give very pointed advice about like, oh, it feels too slow paced sometimes, or like this card is overpowered, it's throws off the balance. So over time, we just got better and better at changing one rule here, one rule there.
So what was it that got you to take this seriously? Because you went from, this is just a geeky thing that me and my friends like to play in my dining room, to, oh my gosh, people are actually going to pay for this. So when did you take the project seriously? Because you're now full-time in the business. So like, what changed?
It was a combination of 3 to 4 things. The first is we've always wanted to do a Kickstarter. So that's always been there. The second is me and Keith, we did a design thinking internship at this company called Awaken Group. And while we were there, we started thinking about how we can like sort of change the world if we had to do only one industry. And at the time, we were working on the retail industry, and we had all these amazing insights about how to make it better. And then we felt like the moment we left our internship, the bell curve would sort of shift back, because talent left. So we thought, what's one bell curve we can go in and shift to the right, and it'll shift all the other bell curves to the right. And we thought, oh, education. So we spent the next 6 months interviewing teachers, parents, principals, students. Like we would interview one of them for 2 hours every week, and we gathered all these insights. And we found amazing things like teachers love teaching, but they hate their jobs. Students love learning, but they hate school. Very contradicting things all over the place. At the end of it, after 6 months of this and running workshops and like trying things out and like going into the industry, right? Our conclusion was things are dysfunctional because the education is driven by the economy, and the economy, at least in Singapore, is driven by fear. So we had to address the fear in order to address all the problems in education. And so my thought was, okay, I need to show it's not that hard to make it out there in the world. And also show that if you make learning fun, it'll pay off, both for the learners and for the producers. And I had a lot of Chords in the back pocket. So I thought, okay, this seems to be a sign, let's do it. So that was the second thing. First thing was we only want to do Kickstarter. Second thing was this extreme education. That's what we call the project. Extreme education.
I love it. Yeah.
And the third thing was that, well, we went to Unleash the Power Within, which is a Tony Robbins event.
Oh, yes. Yes. I love that event.
Yeah, and it's actually super good. Yeah, and all three of us co-founders went, and we got really super driven and very clear and sure about what we wanted once we went there. So that was the third thing.
Okay. And did you find that Lord of the Chords happened, or really you just decided to make it a thing at UPW, or was it more, was it just, I guess, is that the nail in the coffin, I guess?
So, okay, I said 1, 2, 3, and there's one more. The fourth one.
That's what I thought, because you stopped talking. I'm like, I think he's done. But go on, number 4.
The fourth one was my mentor is the creator of Potato Pirates, which is a coding educational card game. And I lived on a couch in my university, and that couch belonged to him. So I saw firsthand his Kickstarter journey, every step of the way, from prototyping, testing the game out with people, inviting the press over to his office, And finally, when he launched on Kickstarter, the success that came, I was like, wow, if he can make this, I can make what I make. And I also played the game with him, and he was like, yeah, this can go really well.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's gotcha. All 4 of those combined made me go okay, it's time. Okay,
cool. So you then jump in with both feet, decide to do a Kickstarter. Now, anyone who does any Googling on Kickstarter strategy or how to get a campaign together, they hear that you need an audience of people ready to buy your product as soon as you're live. And there's a few different ways to do that: building an email list, PR, social media, whatever. But one of the things that, and we can go through step by step what you did, but I feel that's best to focus on the 80-20 of what really made the difference. And one thing that really stands out from what you guys did in the pre-launch is getting that industry social proof from celebrities. Why is social proof, and I'm going to be doing it like a follow-up episode, I guess, more on how to get social proof. So I guess this is a really good like gateway episode for that. But you can have the biggest email list, you can have the biggest Instagram following, but at the end of the day, if you can get endorsed by celebrities that have a cult following, all it takes is that it's like a built-in trust factor. So the fact that you guys focused on that social proof really helped you bring in a different audience, but also convert an existing Kickstarter audience into really trusting that this card game is amazing because of the association with professional musicians. So I'd love to talk about that because I think social proof is something that a lot of people struggle to get with new products, and they may even majority of people have a limited mindset that if they don't have multiple products, they can't ship out to influencers, therefore they don't get social proof. Whereas you're just like, well, screw that. I'm just going to go get social proof. So I really want to just jump into that because I think it's something that a lot of people need to do, but majority does it terribly. So, I want to understand your thought process a bit in audience building. Like with Kickstarter, you knew what goes into it, but what were the top 2 areas that you focused on when it came to building an audience, and how did you decide that social proof with celebrities was going to be like an angle that was like tangible for you?
I have a great friend who did 2 Kickstarters before for a bag. It's the bow bag. Yeah, that's what it's called. Bow quiver bag. And what she said was she noticed that all of the successful Kickstarters, those that are 6 figures or above, they have some form of celebrity involved. There's like the peak design bag that they designed with the photographer, and Simone Giertz made her own everyday checklist thing. And then like there was a pattern, So that's one thing. The second thing is we also knew about email lists. Like she told me email is the #1 converting channel out of all the channels. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And I heard these 2 things very early on in my research. So that kind of like skewed my bias in a good way. Yeah. So I was always trying to build an email list, and I had learned about Facebook ads and driving traffic to a landing page and all of that. So that's on like sort of on conversion side. But if we do like AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action, attention's the hard part, right? Yeah. So naturally, we thought if we can get celebrities, it'll be great. And my Instagram feed had this artist's ad come up that said, okay, these 2 musicians from Final Fantasy are coming to play, and there's a meet and greet. Like, oh, fantastic. How much is it? It was like $50. It was nothing. So we signed up, and I was like, oh, but how do we get their attention? Like, how do we wow them? So we had made a name card for ourselves as a joke. They look like this.
Yes. That's like your business card too, right?
Yes, it's my business name card. So we made that as a joke for ourselves, and we noticed that every time we showed it to someone, they would always say, wow. Like there was always an emotional reaction. So we thought, what would happen if we made one for someone? So I just spent like because I'm not the designer in the team, Keith is, but he was busy designing the game. So I spent like 3 days designing one guy's card, and then he spent like 5 minutes designing the other guy's card, and his was nicer. But then we got there, and the concert was amazing. We went to the meet and greet, and then we said, hey, we have a gift for you. And then we were obviously recording. We passed the thing over to them, and they went, wow, and both of them did that. So we were like, that was really, really cool. So that was from like these 2 Final Fantasy concert people who are musicians for the game world. So that was like perfect. Yeah. And I thought it was a one-off thing, but that same day we had another concert to go to, which was a Goodsman and Jews concert, who are even bigger in the classical music world. Unfortunately, there was no meet and greet, so we didn't make the cards, and we also had no time. But I noticed in the audience I knew someone, so I DM'd him during the intermission and asked, "Can you get me backstage?" He said, "Yeah, sure, just come along." So we came by, and I just snuck backstage, and I was wearing this, which sort of gets you in, you know.
Yeah. It's a jacket, you know.
Exactly. Like, people thought we were important, but obviously we weren't. So we got in, and we showed him the game without having a special card for him, and he happened to love it. So we recorded all of it, and we told him there was a Kickstarter. He said, "I will support your Kickstarter." He said it 3 times. So we like marketed the shit out of that.
So did he support on the Kickstarter?
Actually, no, because he's so busy. But we're still in email contact, and he still wants to get involved somehow. But he's just so busy that it's crazy, yeah.
Have you, sorry if I missed this, but have you, is he on your list of people just to ship a game out to?
Yes, we will ship a game out to him.
Cool.
For sure.
Yeah, because he doesn't really have to back, but it's just more like, hey, thanks for helping us indirectly type thing. That could be super cool. But,
yeah.
Oh, that's
so, I mean, so these were the first 4 musicians that we got in contact with, and then we just replicated this with all the other 10, essentially.
Yeah.
Just the same thing, make a card, show up, even if there's no meet and greet, find a way backstage. And I found that one way to essentially always get backstage or access to the artist is to ask the sound guy.
And why
to say the sound guy, because the sound guy spends a lot of time with the artist. They're in direct contact. They smoke together. They sit in the same car together, and no one talks to the sound guy. So, just ask him. Hey, any chance you can see the big guy? And then he'll tell you. Yeah. Like, I was just at Trevor Noah, Trevor Noah's show, and I wanted to get backstage. So I asked the sound guy, and he said, "Oh, you got to come back for the next show, but if you do, then you can get a good chance." But I came late, so I missed the bus on that one. But if I was on time, it would have worked.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I want to dig into a couple things. So I spoke to Sarah Shaw on the podcast like a few episodes back about gifting product to celebrities, which in theory works if you have product, but you, before Kickstarter, didn't have product. So I want to highlight something you did for people that are like, well, it sounds great, but I don't have anything to give the celebrity. Why did you choose the card versus just going up empty-handed? Because you didn't have a game to give them. So what was significant about what you gave them in your strategy?
Right. So in the LinkedIn article, I used LORD Lord framework. So L is just locate them, find them out where they're going to be. Number 2, offer. O is offer an amazing gift. So the whole idea is if you're going to visit a king or a lord, you would come bearing gifts just to make them happy and get a good reaction. The reason why we picked cards is because it's a card game. So you can't just give anything. You have to give something that's indicative of your product. And our products are essentially these cards that we made for them that were just like my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the back is the same back as our cards as well. Yeah.
I like it. So it's a gift that it stands out, but it's also relevant to your game. And that's where it's different, because you want to stand out by not just getting them a generic, here's a set of flowers, or a bouquet of flowers, we'll say, because that's great, but maybe it's something that everyone gets them. So if you can go unique and personalized, like the reactions that you guys were able to capture from your cards were like, I guarantee all of these musicians have those cards still because it's a memorable gift.
Exactly.
So, and the other thing I want to dig into, because you brought this up actually on the other day in the Q&A or launch accelerator, where one of our members was trying to get in contact with a Facebook influencer, I think it was, and you're like, well, why don't you go to the cameraman? because people go to the most obvious person. You go, you try to get the musician or that celebrity themselves, and unfortunately they're just not that accessible. So if you can go to like their inner circle, you're going to have a much higher chance of actually getting in contact with them, like the wife or the cameraman or the sound guy, like you just talked about in here.
Yes. Yeah, always go to someone else who's close to them who is not in the limelight. And I thought about the camera guy because I thought about the sound guy. It's basically the same thing. And if back to the old podcast that you did with Sarah.
Sarah, yeah.
She used to be a makeup artist, right? So that's why she knows.
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe. Go on.
Yeah, I think she used to be a makeup artist for the celebrities. That's why she knew him. So that worked as well. And yeah, like one thought of like that's like the same idea but on steroids is you just watch a movie and then go to the end credits. The end credits are full of leads who know all the celebrities. Like go to the makeup section, go to the casting section. People in casting know everyone. So and like their full names are there. You can find them on LinkedIn or like just ask someone who knows someone who knows someone.
I never thought of it like that before. I'm never gonna look at movies the same. So I'm like, who am I trying to get in contact with for X, Y, Z?
Exactly.
So awesome. I want to go back to the social proof. Just kind of happened by accident. Then you built a strategy around it, and that became kind of the strength behind your marketing. When you had these photos, when you have the video, how did you actually use that to then build your audience ahead of launch? Because I assume you use that through Facebook advertising or some other channels in the build-up for your launch, right?
Correct. So we had a whole bunch of videos that were pretty boring to watch if you watched them alone, right? And I happened to see Soundbrenner. Soundbrenner is also a music product, and they were on Kickstarter. They raised like 500K. And I saw they made a compilation of reactions from famous musicians on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, this is engaging. It's fun. It's fast paced." So I made it like an even crazier version of that video, which is on LinkedIn, and that was what we mainly ran on for our Facebook ads. Like we ran a few things. One of them was a Medium, like a blog post detailing our whole story. That one worked really well. And then another one was basically this reaction video. So I watch a lot of YouTube, like too much YouTube. And it's gaming, it's funny gaming videos of people like making reaction videos, like super funny edited stuff with lots of memes, like nani, like that one. So I put all of that into the video. And that's why like people didn't find it as marketing. They was just like, wow, this is a funny video on Facebook. And I remember the comments were like, well, this is the funniest thing. People shared it and said, this is marketing done right. And it was just me having fun with a crazy funny video that I wanted to show all of my friends.
When you did ads for that, did you do the objective as video views, or did you do the traditional, click here to learn more, then take you directly to the page? Like, how did you use that video?
It led you to a landing page.
Okay.
But now that I think about it, we should have done video views and then do the retargeting based on percentage watched.
Well, you could do it in the future. It obviously, it worked for you guys at first. Speaking of marketing done right, it's so funny. Like, I remember Jon Ng sent me his Facebook copy for like the new site, and I was like, I have nothing to critique. This is amazing. So you guys have your marketing is on point, and I actually wanted to bring up something else that you guys have done really well, based on. It's funny. You gave me inspiration based on the Q&A call the other day. So. Reddit. A lot of people don't get Reddit. See, Reddit, you go into a subreddit, and all of a sudden people are like, hey, back my Kickstarter, and they don't understand why they get locked out of a subreddit. So let's actually take a second and talk about that. How did you use Reddit before launch? Because you had one one post go viral, like upvoted, what, 800 times or something? You were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about how you did that.
Okay, this is a pretty great and fun story. There was a concert with a cellist, and this cellist was like very handsome. The girls like him. So we went to that concert with the intention of getting his endorsement. So we had made the card for him. But in Singapore, they have these things called pre-concert talks. Mm-hmm. They would just describe the piece and explain it so you can listen to it better. And usually it's just like a DJ or some historian. But this time, the concert was for Wojciech, Antonin Wojciech, which is the composer of humorist. Mm-hmm. So his great-great-granddaughter was the one giving the pre-concert talk. And I was like, whoa, holy shit, like an actual, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it was just like a surprise, and she was just there, and the audience was like 20 people, like no one was there. Yeah, because no one goes for these pre-concert talks. They're so boring. That's a joke.
And yet here you were, but yes, of course.
Yeah. So we went there, and she told really funny stories. She's not even a musician, actually. Yeah, but we got a photo. I put my product, the place where they put the water bottles. So people were looking at my product the whole time. And so after I talked to her for a bit, it was just like 5 minutes. Like, can we take a picture together? Like, sure. Got her signature. And when we went to Reddit, I knew that we can't just promote what we have. We can't just say like, here, I made this thing. Click it. You know, it had to be content that they want to see. And Reddit people, they just want to see like interesting things. That's why we're on Reddit. Mm-hmm. So, and I also noticed that when there is some controversy, then there's more comments. More comments means more views, more upvotes, and that helps you.
It just viral.
So I titled the post, "The great-great-granddaughter of Antonin Wojciech went to Singapore, and she's beautiful." And then there's a picture of me holding the product and just smiling with her. That's all. And like I went. So that day we posted like 5 things on Reddit. There were other things that all like they bombed. Mm-hmm. Like one guy told us like stop posting stuff, but this one the next morning we're like, holy shit, it blew like 500 upvotes, and then it grew over the day, and we just like replied people. So yeah, people, and of course I didn't say her name as well, so people were just asking her name over and over again.
Yeah, because they want to go onto Instagram and be like, who is this girl? Like, so headline was that like pretty obvious, and did you have a long post associated with it, or was it just that headline with a link / photo?
That was all.
That was it.
That was all.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
so
we looked out for a comment that would ask about the piano box, because it's our product looks weird. So someone asked and we explained, and then they were like, oh wow, I really want one. Can you send me one? Like send me the details. So that was cool.
That's awesome. Did you by chance track the traffic from that link, or the amount of subscribers or anything that came through that?
I don't think there is much, but it was a cool moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I find Reddit is one of those things you have to do tastefully, and it's hard to do well. And you did it well with that. So, and Reddit can be capitalized on for really good sales opportunities, but you just, you really have to be creative with it, because it is they have closed communities for good, valuable content. And that's usually not links, unless if you're in the Kickstarter subreddit or the crowdfunding one, that's all links. But I find any other subreddit, if you guys are looking at getting into it, listening to this, like just follow the rules. Don't drop a link, because you're going to get your account, but just put it in jeopardy. So
yeah, you can like tease people so they ask for a link. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did you tease? Because I know you've done a few other sort of Reddit posts. How else would you tease?
I mean, one way was our account was Lord of the. So actually, I think people Googled it, and then they were like, "This is kind of disingenuous." but I still like the content. Someone said that.
Whatever, it worked. That's super cool. Also, awesome. Well, is there anything else that I should have asked you that I haven't?
No, actually.
No, actually. So this, I guess what's next for you guys? Post Kickstarter, what do you want to do?
Well, so I got in contact with one of the celebrities again, and this was by coincidence. I was actually going after a different celebrity, but it turns out they're together, so he was there. And then we started talking more, and we might do a product together, so that's very, very interesting for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like we're still talking. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think that might be exciting because then we don't have to go after the celebrities. We just design for them, with them, and market alongside them all the way.
That's awesome. Would it be more like a white label arrangement, or are you thinking of developing another product under the Lord of the Chords brand?
We're not so sure about anything.
Yeah. Yeah, just focus on one right now, you know? So, well, that's really cool. Well, if anyone wants to go pick up the world's punniest and geekiest music theory card game, where can people go to get it?
They can go to lordofthechords.com.
Okay, awesome. And you guys ship globally?
Yes.
Awesome. Guys, seriously, fun game, and it looks amazing. So really excited to work with you guys in the next few months on this. Apart from that, all links that I mentioned are either below or in the show notes at Khierstyn.com/ls20. I'm going to link his LinkedIn article as well as how to get in contact with Jon. Actually, how can people get in contact with you directly if they have a follow-up question?
So both on LinkedIn and Instagram, I'm Jon of the Chords, JONOFTHECHORDS.
Perfect. I'll drop everything below here. But apart from that, this has been awesome. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.